Whoopi Goldberg insulted Meghan McCain live on the show. This is too much. Let's get to the bottom of this together.
Slope. I mean, people are in there for all kinds of things, and you commit a crime, you shouldn't be able to vote.
Well, it's really a constitutional question, because what the Constitution says under the 14th Amendment is that it's a state issue. It's a state-by-state issue. And in fact, I think Bernie's probably speaking to his experience, because in Vermont, people in prison are allowed to vote. And I think a lot of people don't know that. And about 48 states up until 2017, in Maine, and in 48 states, most people, even after they got out of prison, were not allowed to vote.
Right.
And just recently, I think it was 2017 or 2018, now 15 states plus D.C. allow people to have the right to vote.
Right.
So I don't know that Bernie's position is appropriate. I would agree, once you're in prison, I don't know that the right to vote is appropriate. But my concern is the laws of our country are disproportionately applied to people of color.
I think Sonny's just exaggerating. Virginia reinstated 168,000 ex-convicts in 2017. This coincided with Democrats winning the gubernatorial election, as well as dozens of seats won in the legislature. This November alone, between 5,000 and 10,000 ex-convicts registered in Alabama. Those are significant numbers, considering Democrat Doug Jones won by a margin of just 21,000 votes. Let's look back at the 2016 presidential election. It is known that Clinton lost 3 states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, by the narrowest of margins. Wisconsin, a lead of 22,148 votes, with 65,606 people in the state disenfranchised from voting because of felonies committed, a third of them African American. Michigan, a lead of 11,612 votes, and 44,221 people are disenfranchised, about half are black. Pennsylvania, a lead of 44,292 votes, and 52,974 disenfranchised.
That's a different conversation, though, and I think that's a valid one.
I think it's part of the same conversation.
So I will say that I got up at 5:30 this morning. I couldn't sleep last night, and I woke up really early, and I saw this clip. And I will say, talking about prison reform and talking about low-level crimes like Alice Marie Johnson getting let out of prison, I believe a woman like that should have the right to vote for all intents and purposes. But for Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris to go on TV and say that the Boston terrorist deserves any rights in this country after killing 3 people and injuring 264 in 2013, I think is disgraceful. RNC turned that into an ad. It is not hard to say people who commit acts of terror in this country should not only be punished, but God forbid they should have any rights that any of us had, or someone who commits a low-level crime like smoking pot or getting caught with a dime bag of pot and going to jail. It is not hard to put lines between terrorists and people who commit low-level crimes. And I was very upset about this morning, because just one second, if Democrats want to drag everybody this far left, this is why people like me are so upset and so disenfranchised with how extreme this is. It's not hard to say the Boston terrorist was a psycho lunatic who is a threat not only to national security, but shouldn't be allowed the right to vote in any elections. It's not that hard.
And where is she wrong? Democrats have always looked for an easy way to lure voters to their side. That's why they go to such lengths. They let migrants in and give them everything they need to vote for them. That's what Democrats are like.
Has worked on
they
before,
have discussed.
and I feel like she's thought about it before.
Well, but
does anyone here think a terrorist should have the right to vote?
Well, here's what I'm going to say. If they let this terrorist out because he served his time, he gets his, if he's an American citizen, why is your mouth open like that?
He killed people.
Yes, lots of people do this.
He's a terrorist. He's a radicalized terrorist.
Our Constitution says if you've done your time, you have, we hope, been reformed, you've been changed, you've been grown. If they let him out, that means they feel his time is up and he gets to become the American citizen.
He should never be let out. He's a radicalized terrorist.
Well, but you asked me about the book. He's probably never going to get out. But I'm saying,
simple question: does anybody at this table think anyone who's committed an act of terror that killed 3 Americans and injured 264 should have the right to vote? Anybody at this table? I don't know. Yes.
Well, no, that's not the way to ask that question, because this is 2 different conversations.
It's not to me.
I get that, but it is to me, and let me remind you why.
The old lady has gone completely insane and is talking utter rubbish. Are you really going to live peacefully if your neighbor is a man in jail for some terrorist act? Of course not. We shouldn't let them vote because these people are not socialized and they simply shouldn't be allowed to walk amongst normal society. If they've done it once, they can do it a second time when the pressure's on. That's what Whoopi's all about. Learn to think and don't talk rubbish ever. Do you agree with me? Write your opinion in the comments and don't forget to watch other shocking news on the channel.